Don't look now, but there's a great chance that Ayman Sellouf can make some CPL history by the end of the season. To kick off this week's episode of High Press, we will begin with the power rankings, where Pacific had quite the weekend with a 4-1 win. They jump up to third place, leapfrogging both Halifax and Atletico Ottawa, who drop. And with that result, Pacific clinch a playoff spot, and a few other clubs could clinch this weekend. Isn't that right, Alex?
Yeah, there's quite a few permutations. It's that time of year. We saw a few scenarios play out this weekend. Unfortunately, Vancouver is also eliminated. Contrasting weekends on the West Coast for CPL teams. But this weekend, to start, there's Cavalry, who have already clinched a playoff spot. They've also now clinched a top 3 spot, guaranteed to host a playoff game. And they can clinch the title this weekend if they win and Pacific drops any points, or if they draw and if Pacific lose. Forge can also clinch this week outright with a win, or if they match York's result in their game against Cavalry. So lots going on in those games. Halifax could also clinch this week only if they win and York lose to Cavalry. Meanwhile, Valour could be eliminated by the time this is even out, as they play Vancouver in midweek and need to win to stay alive.
Moving along now to our match week in 60 seconds section, we will be starting at the top of the power rankings with Cavalry FC. Now, the Cavs' flexibility remains incredibly important. They continue to battle injuries and suspensions, yet they don't miss a beat. They are now 12 wins, 1 draw, and 4 losses across their last 17 games. That's a possible 51 points, and they took 37 of them. No wonder they're first place right now, and a big part of that flexibility remains Shome.
Yeah, Shome has been, I feel like, just the stereotypical Cavalry player, someone who can step up, can play anywhere, can be gritty. Just his performance against Vancouver, he was getting beat up all game. You could see his knee taped, everything, and he's just, every time he'd get up and get after it. And that's been Cavalry this year. It's been one where they've had this grit, this resilience, and it's fascinating because to start the year, they started slow. They were struggling to hold out leads. We were asking, is this what's up with this new Cavalry? They lost some veterans in the offseason. Did it hurt them? But it feels like a lot of their new guys, they already personify the Cavalry. Shome's an example. You can also give Eric Kobza a shout, who steps up again into a different position in midfield, the position he was originally playing after playing center back. Just, it's incredible versatility, and that's why they're winning games.
Number 2 in the power rankings is Forge FC. They remain there because this week they went direct. They sacrificed a little bit of possession to do so, but they finally beat Valour away from home for the first time since September 12th, 2019. A big part of that goes to Beni Badibanga, who is becoming their new offensive hub. Alex, how impressive was he?
He's impressive as always. He just makes things happen out on the flank. He wants to take guys on. He wants to cut inside. He demands the ball. He demands, he wants things to happen. I think for me, the big thing too is you're on a team where you have Kyle Becker, you have Tristan Borges, 2 of the best free kick takers in CPL history. They've had a pretty good arsenal of free kicks. Late free kick winner, it's a 2-2 game. And who steps up to take it? It's Beni Badibanga. He demands things to happen to run through him. And Forge has needed that at times this year, because offensively, Kyle Becker has been phenomenal, but other than that, it's been injuries, it's been inconsistency. So to have someone like Badibanga can step up is huge. And then in terms of Forge stylistically, we know they can be chameleons. Some days they love to hold the ball, some days they don't. Sometimes they love to play back 3, sometimes they don't. Bobby even gave me a bit of jab heading into the game, because I asked, was he going to play a 3-5-2? And he's like, oh, you're assuming what formation we're going to play. Turns out they went back to the box, and that's Forge, and Badibanga stepped right into that.
Third place in the power rankings is Pacific FC, who had quite the performance, and it was once again Ayman Sellouf who starred, as he's now chasing history. He has 8 assists, 1 off the league record that was set last season by Sean Rea. He also has 15 goal contributions, Alex, 7 goals on top of those 8 assists.
Yeah, I don't know what's more impressive about Ayman Sellouf's performances for Pacific. Is it the sheer numbers? Like, again, 7 goals, 8 assists. That's absurd. You can push for 10 and 10, which, as we know, is a high benchmark for any attacking player. Or is it just, again, where does he come off? What's his situation in this York game? He comes off the bench at halftime and does it again. You start him, you bring him off the bench. He's been better off the bench, and it's just this sort of, you don't see anything like this. Usually guys are always at their best when they start, but Sellouf, he just knows how to come in and be a difference maker. And I think credit has to be given to his mentality as a player, because sometimes players like him who, should be starting, are stars who can start games, they might not react to that yet. Every game he comes off the bench and makes a difference, and then he can also make a difference as a starter, and it's helping it's helping his team win right now.
Absolutely. He's got a delivery on him that I don't know if I've seen so far in the CPL. Thomas Meyer-Jaguar and Emir Didic are definitely benefiting from that fact. I mean, Didic assisted Meyer-Jaguar this weekend, and they both have 4 goals this season, which is tied for second place on Pacific.
Yeah, I think that just shows who's benefiting as well, because the nice thing is about someone who gets a lot of assists, that usually means your teammates are scoring goals. And it's fascinating because Sellouf, as we know, leads the team with 7 goals. There's a 6-way tie for second with 4 goals. And I mean, just the fact that the 2 center backs are in that tie, it's so impressive, because you don't see that sort of aerial prowess from a lot of center backs, let alone 2 on the same team. And I think it's pretty fitting that Didic set up Meyer-Jaguar for the opening goals. It just shows how dominant Pacific can be in the air. They have size, they have guys who can jump. It is a bit of a worry because, I mean, of course, set pieces can win games, especially in the playoffs. And I think it's going to be nice that if it's 88th minute, 0-0 game, you have Sellouf on the ball and Meyer-Jaguar and Didic in the box. That could be huge. But also, as we see in the playoffs, big players, your strikers, your 10s, they can also be very decisive. So for Pacific, it might be a bit of a worry that, Didic and Meyer-Jaguar are tied with some of those other 10s and 4s they have, even if it is a compliment to how good they are in the box.
Halifax Wanderers dropped down to 4th place in the power rankings after picking up an impressive 3 points at home. It was Atletico Ottawa who looked like they were going to rescue the draw, but the late winner was found. 3 points were grabbed, and a big part of that was Lorenzo Callegari, who continues to be the heartbeat of this midfield.
Yeah, his performance was exemplary. As again, he demands the ball well over 100 touches, pushing 80 plus passes completed. That assist to Jordan Prutz was just magical, just floated, lofted right into that no man's land for a goalkeeper and defender, where you're just stuck watching as art plays out. And it's something where Callegari is quietly having quite the season. I mean, we see his impact in every area of the game too. He has 6 assists. Which is, again, amongst top 10, in CPL history for assists in a single season, playing the number 6 role. You see all the passes he completes every game. And his defending is good. Don't sleep on that. He's making big tackles. He's cleaned out the yellow cards in his game after that early scare. He's doing it all right now for Halifax. And it feels like it doesn't get enough attention, given that they're very close to booking a playoff spot despite all the roster and coaching turnover.
Atletico Ottawa were the other club that dropped this week down to 5th place in the power rankings, and it was Sam Salter who tried to exact revenge against his former club, but unfortunately they were not able to pick up any points, and they are now winless in their last 5, and in those 5 matches they've lost games in the 97th, the 92nd, and the 91st minute, along with 2 draws. On top of it, to make it worse, Ollie Bassett was not happy after getting substituted off in the 71st minute. A little trouble in paradise for the defending regular season champions.
Yeah, at one point it looked like Ottawa might win back-to-back regular season titles. They were head-to-head with Calgary, doing a great job, but now they're mathematically out of the title race. And at this stage, if they get anything other than 5th, 4th, right, they'll be happy. I mean, 6th is not out of the possibility. I could see them miss out completely, and this stretch is why. And it's a huge worry, because what is this Ottawa team known for? It's known for team play, good defending, just being resolute, their mentality, playing every game like it's a final. And for them to drop 3 late results like that, to have their players frustrated, to, see all those things, that does not show well for a team that's sort of wanting to preach that sort of mentality. And that's dangerous, as that now, as I mentioned, could have them miss out on the playoffs altogether, which would be a huge shock and disappointment in the nation's capital.
York United remained 6th place in the power rankings, and Martin Nash had one of the quotes of the season after his side's performance. There was a lot of guys that I didn't feel made the bare minimum requirements of a professional footballer, as Pacific absolutely destroyed them. The match could have been 7 or 8-1. Alex, does York have the mentality to make the playoffs? They have the players, they have the system, but something is not right.
Yeah, it's a strange one, because they were very much in the race. They showed great mentality to beat Halifax away, come from behind, as we knew, the first team all year on the road to do so. And then they go 2 must-win games at home, and they don't just lose them. Like, losing happens. You lose one late, you lose something 2-1. You get battered by Valour and Pacific in both games. They weren't even close on any of them. 2 of their worst performances of the year. It's a huge worry, because this is the time of the year where everyone steps up, right? Everyone wants to make the playoffs. We've been seeing it. It's cagey games. It's teams wanting to respond. And York's just, they folded in these 2 games. And it's a surprise, because you look at their roster. They've got a good roster. They've playing a good, they got their 4-2-3-1. They can score goals. They got dangerous players. You look across, there's hardly any weaknesses yet. as we saw in Pacific, it just felt like they'd given up by the end. They were getting ran over. They were losing 50-50s. They were not tracking back. And ultimately, that does come down to mentality, and that's something they need to clean up if they want to rescue a playoff spot this year.
7th place remains the same, and that is Vancouver FC, who over the weekend showed that their 4-3-3 continues to allow them to hold on to the ball and be good off of it. They went toe-to-toe with Cavalry, but at the end of the day, they just couldn't pick up the result. However, Alex, I know that you like a little bit of what you're seeing from this formation. What do you like? What would you tweak?
Yeah, it's good. Just they continue to look organized, and just they look like they know what they want to do on the ball now. They're passing it around, holding possession. There were times where they're really making Cavalry defend. They just need to figure out something offensively. There's one thing is they're putting all this pressure, and then one turnover, one mistake, and they're not scoring the goals to make up for it. And I think that's going to be the big thing. And then also, again, ditto defensively, just kind of cleaning out some of those little mistakes, because I think the formation's right. Just maybe a tweak or two in midfield, a tweak or two up front, and they could really be on their way next year.
Valour FC remain in the basement in the power rankings in 8th place, but they have a new duo up front that are providing that they can score some goals. It is Debrienne and Williams. They have 5 goals in their past 2 games, and this is the first time that Valour has scored multiple goals in back-to-back matches. So, Alex, what is working for this duo?
Yeah, just give something a bit different up front for Valour that's been lacking. Energy off the ball, runs on the ball. Williams, he's not your traditional 9. He's not going to hold up. He's not going to back to goal, but he's been making frustrating runs, scored a good goal against Forge by making a good run and just following up and being there. And that gives something a bit different up front for Valour's lacked that sort of mobile presence at times. And then Debrienne, he's just a spark plug. You can put him at center back, and I'm sure you'd do a job. And he's given a bit of life out on the wing where, we've seen Nyongabira do a job, and Williams as well, but Williams shifting centrally, that opens up room for Debrienne, and it's helping Valour right now. So something to watch maybe for the rest of this year and even next.
Moving along now to the look ahead for our Tony Bet match of the week between York United and Cavalry FC. The storyline for this match is the fact that York are coming off their 2 worst performances of the year, 2 humiliating home losses, and they play a Cavs team right now that is steamrolling everyone. Is there any way that this York side can get up for this match?
Well, they're going to have to hope they can if they want to maintain their playoff hopes, of course, especially at home. They got to get some games at home in here. But for what it's worth, they have played Cavalry well, especially, across the years. It helps. Martin Nash is, used to coach at the club, so it's obviously a bit personal. We saw it earlier this year. York nabbed a key 1-0 win over Cavalry. So it's one they can get up for, and they're going to need to, because if not, of course, Cavalry clinching on their field would be, a bit more embarrassing, especially if they're not able to get up for it. So big one for sure for York to respond and show their adversity, show their mentality as a team.
Now the stat to watch this week, Alex, is actually scary. Now York has taken 11 points from a possible 12 home matches. The worst ever in CPL history is 14 points. They play the Cavs, they play Atletico Ottawa in their last 2 home matches. What are the odds that they actually end up with the worst ever home point record?
It's a possibility, because they need at least a win to match that. And the fact they're playing Cavalry, Ottawa, 2 good road teams, that's not going to be easy. So there is a strong chance, like even something like 2 draws sets that record. And it's not a record you want to be chasing. So I feel like maybe that's also could be bulletin board material for Martin Nash's team. Because look, as we know, there's a formula typically to make the playoffs. It's, win games at home and make up points on the road. Usually it's about 2 points per game at home, 1 point per game on the road, and you're set. Well, when you're averaging less than a point per game at home, that's meant you had to be good on the road, and York has been, but also like you have to clean that up a bit. And this is a chance at 6 points, and they'll need it, because that's not the sort of history you want to be competing for.
No, it's not. Now, on the look ahead, we focus on York a lot. We will continue to do so with a tactic to watch. Now, York need to tighten up their back line in that 4-2-3-1 system. What way can you see them doing that in this match? Is it a personnel change or a tactical switch? Yeah,
it's going to be interesting. I wonder maybe tactically if they are to switch anything, if going to a single pivot could help, because I know they've played the double pivot all year. Maybe a single pivot, maybe like a Brem Sumaro holding things down could give them a bit more balance in midfield, because they have some good midfielders there. Maybe could free up Gangue-Ruzic, right, and not have to do too much in the double pivot role. And then at the back, it could be worth considering just a shake-up of some sorts. Maybe you put in Jonathan Grant There are a lack of center back options with injuries and suspensions, but just feels like any tweak there could be necessary.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have for in this episode of High Press. I really hope you all enjoyed it. And if you want the opportunity to win the latest edition of Derby Magazine, find OneSoccer on social media, reach out to us, and let us know what you want the CPL regular season title to look like. It could be a cup, it could be a shield. Let us know. We will pick a winner at random. And if you enjoyed this, be sure to tune in for next week's update.